So getting started with what we did earlier, we talked about G Suite for education, and we understood what these apps are capable of, what they bring to us. So when you adopt G Suite for education solution for your schools, every student and every teacher would be able to use these apps in a very secure manner to create, to collaborate, and then to also connect with each other. So we had covered these apps in our earlier session and seen, well, maybe not so much as Google Sheets. We will take a brief look at that today as well. But we were looking at how these apps help you to create activities which will bring some interactive element in the teaching. Because very important is that it is, and this present scenario, that the children are engaged. So the remote learning and online learning is little different than what you are looking at a face-to-face classroom teaching, because children have to be motivated. They have to get your feedback, and that feedback had to be almost instant, so that the children feel like moving on to the next task. So all of that would be possible as we look at the things that are coming up today. So our focus is going to be on Google Classroom. So this is the app that we are going to recognize and relate to as the Google Classroom. And we are also going to be looking at how Google Forms would help you bring in certain formative assessment in the classroom scenario. So moving on, let's take a look at what Google Classroom is, what it can do. And in one short line, actually, it does exactly what it says here. Google Classroom is an app which would help you manage teaching and learning. So you would be able to teach and children will be able to learn, and all of that will happen in a very secure, very in a way of an interactive manner where the child feels also secure to reach out to you just in case they need a certain doubt clarification. So it is definitely beneficial for each one of us. So an overview of Google Classroom, what one can do as an educator. You will be able to create classes, you will connect with students, and as the task of teachers is, we will teach and then we will give assignments, right? And then grading those assignments and sending the feedback. That is also part of the process of any teaching that we are doing in a regular day-to-day classrooms. Another benefit of having a virtual 24/7 classroom without walls is that everything that we do in this Google Classroom stays with you for the entire academic session. So this work that is going to be done will remain there till you archive it. For students, it's again like any other place. They will come into the classroom, in this case into the Google Classroom. So we say they join Google Classroom. They will interact with the teachers. They can also interact with the peer, but not directly. It will be through the Google Classroom, so it is monitored by the teacher as to what the interactions are happening. They will also attempt assignment. They will access resources that are being shared by the teacher. They will get that feedback. They can reach out to the teacher to ask for individual doubts. So there is a section of what is termed as the private comments. So they can put in a private comment for the teacher or put an open comment in the classroom for the entire class to see and respond to. Also, for the student, the entire work remains there. So if a child even joins mid-year, this particular Google Classroom. So if there are transfer cases or new admissions, then also the previous work will be accessed by the student. Now, come to think of it, how many of us are in a position to do that when a child comes in, in the middle of the session from a different school, but we want him to catch up with our earlier work. We are not able to do that 100%. But all the assignments that are given in the Google Classroom are available for a student who comes even in the middle of the year, and they will be able to catch up. So that is the big advantage when we are looking at having everything available online and available throughout the year for the student. So how does this all happen? How do we create class? How do we have students join in? And how do we create assignments? How do we grade them? These are the questions, if they are coming to your mind, then these are the questions that will be answered to my best in today's session. And we will be giving a close look at the few details that need to be considered when you create such assignments. So creating Google Classroom and joining Google Classroom is literally two-step process. You can go to the Google Classroom dashboard by either identifying the Google app in the app launcher. So once you have your G Suite for Education ID, you will sign in, maybe just to check your email, right? So in the Gmail also, when you open in your inbox, on the top, you will find 9 app grid, which is also known as the app launcher, and you will try to identify where the Google Classroom app is. Just click it and you will get into the dashboard. Or while you are signed in, you will be able to get into the classroom by just going directly into your Omnibox, type in www.classroom.google.com. Once you do that, you will get a blank screen. Of course, since it would be your first time, your screen might be a little different than what I might be able to show. But the very first screen that often comes up just asks you to give agreement. In case your students are joining in, they would like the Google Classroom ask your agreement that you should be able to share their contact information with each other. Other than that, you are expected to choose your role. So that would be for, as a teacher, of course, you will choose your role as a teacher. Even if you want to join a classroom, choose your role as a teacher. Now, if you use your Google the consumer email ID, then you have to put a disclaimer that it is not meant to be used with the students. So it is definitely a no. You will not use regular consumer Gmail ID to create Google Classrooms. That are only for experiments, maybe some hobbies, maybe you want to just test it out or have a private group with maybe some of your colleagues to test run it. You can do that. It has limited features, by the way. But once you have accepted those basic permissions, you are asked to, when you go to the top right, there is a plus sign. You click on it and you are asked whether you want to join a class or create a class. So since we are first creating a class, we will click on create class. The moment you click on create class, a dialog box like this opens up, which requires you to name your classroom. So that is definitely required. So every class has to have a distinct name. And that nomenclature you can, in your organization, decide so that there is a certain uniformity in the way the classrooms appear on students' dashboard. Because you might have 5 classrooms for your subject, the 5 levels that you may be teaching, or 3 classes that you may be teaching. But for a student, the classroom also are going to appear in the same manner. So choose a nomenclature. You can put class name to be even, say, grade 8A, because you might have a division or a section A. But it is preferred that you also write the subject right here, because that becomes prominently obvious for the student. They also give you option of putting subject and section here. My always advice is to use the academic session instead of section, so that over the years, your classrooms are very distinct from each other, easy to distinguish from each other. Once we cover these areas, then your classroom is just created by clicking on create. That's it. For a student to join in, they will need a code. So there are 2 ways. In fact, one easier way is that when you create the classroom, a dashboard like this opens up. This is called as the header of the classroom. And right on the top of the header, you will find the class code. Student can use this head code to join in if these students are the same and have the same email ID as my school, that is the G Suite for Education ID is. So if you try to join in, you won't be able to join in with this code. So this is something which is very unique and very secure. It is meant for students of your school, and therefore you need to use it with that understanding. Of course, these ports can be reset, these ports can be disabled, and we are keeping our room closed after a certain point. So all those features will be showcased as we go along. For a student, what they do, the same. They sign in with their G Suite for Education ID. They go to the Google Classroom app, click open it, and then click join class. They will be asked to use the code shared by the teacher. They can put this code in, and then they will be in the classroom. The second way that students can join will also be if you have email IDs of the students with you, then you can actually invite all of them by putting in, adding in, typing in the email IDs of all the students. Now that at times is a longer process and you may not even be familiar with it. So this for me works very well. So it will be up to you to choose the second option. So once the students have joined in, once the classroom is created, then what happens? So let's take a quick look at some of the features of the Google Classroom, and then we will go into the live Google Classroom and explore the same features in a closer manner. So when you open a Google Classroom, as we said, this is the first page that shows up. The header of the classroom will have the name that you create for your classroom, and then there is a code company. We'll talk about the Meet link in a while, but this page right now is called the stream. So if you look at the top four things that are showing here, this is a stream, then you have classwork, people, and grades, and this is the teacher's view. So teacher's view will show grades, but the student's view will not show grades. So under stream, basically it is meant for general interaction. So this is a place where you make announcements, you have the children share their doubts, you have the children interact with each other. You can start certain interaction because that is what the teaching learning is about. You want to just check on the kids, you want to maybe have them give them a platform where they can open their hearts, or you want them to start some intelligent discussion about maybe a certain book that they've been reading and you want them to start a book discussion here. So all of that can happen in the stream mode. So when you click on stream, then you are good to go to converse, to put conversations here, and we are making this to be an interactive happening place. But the actual class work in terms of assignments, learning, resources, all that happens under the classwork tab. So under the classwork tab is where we will be assigning assignments, doing the assessment, sharing the resources. So the entire action actually will happen under classwork. The third tab is sounds very obvious, people. That means that it will show you the list of people in your classroom. That list of people will also be, you can have more than one teacher. So if I have two other co-teachers teaching the same subject, maybe I want to share my resources and my classroom with them. I can add them in. This will also have a list of all the students who are in your classroom and who are going to be joining in. And you can always take a look at the roster in case you want to ensure that all students are in or not. And of course, the number will also show. When we open the Google Classroom Live, we will take a look at that. Now, classwork, as I said, is the main place where the action happens, where we are going to be doing work, assigning work. So what are the kind of work that we can assign there? That is where the difference will happen. That is where your classroom dynamics will be decided and defined. So it is possible that you can use some interactive documents, just as we created some the other day. You can use some of them. Again, not all have to be this, but just to bring that interactivity, you can have some interactive documents. You can use some hyperlinks, media content, and try to the best to vary this activity. So use all possible resources that are available and try to make the lesson more interactive. So in order to do that, what you are looking at and the Google Classroom under the classwork tab, how does one start is going to happen with this big button of create. So wherever you see a plus create, that is under which the action happens. So what you're looking at here is just one screenshot of a classroom created with the purpose that if I need to teach fractions on a particular day, I have a 30 to 40 minutes content, then I can divide them into subcategories. I can share a resource, which is a video, which the students are expected to watch, or a web link, which takes them to a website, which again gives them a chance to review or learn the concept. But then it is also followed with something to do. It could be just a worksheet that has been assigned and students are asked to do the answers in their notebook, because not everything need to be digital. It has to be a blend of the two. Also a certain self-assessment. So as I said at the beginning, the assessment plays a big role. So you will be able to compose assignments like these as per your demand of the subject and your level that you are teaching, and then let the children learn at their own pace in an asynchronous manner, because this is not happening in the live classroom mode. One or two of these activities can be done in a live session in a face-to-face manner when you get a chance. But otherwise, this is a work that will be opened by the student at a later time, and they will be going through it and attempting at their own pace. So when we click on the create button, the types of possibilities in terms of the assignments is given here. You're able to create an assignment, quiz assignment, question, material, and most importantly, reuse post. And all of this gets organized with the help of topic. So under what topic you want to assign the assignment or material or the question will make your classroom look more organized. So your entire, just like we plan our lesson plan or curriculum, and we decide in chunks as to what is going to be done under a particular section or a subtopic, that is how you start first thinking about what are the categories that you're going to have in your lessons. And then based on that, you can start working. You can, of course, add more topics as you go along. It's not to be a one-time effort. So we are going to take a look at what kind of assignments can be created and what could be the difference between quiz assignment and an assignment. Now, under the assignment also, there are certain settings that we need to be mindful of. So when you create an assignment, a dialog box like this opens up where you put in the assignment's title and then you give instructions. Now, these instructions must be as clear as possible, because the student is going to open this work at their own time. And if they are confused, if they are not getting clear understanding of what is expected of them, then you might even get a message at 12 o'clock at night and you would be bothered. But we don't want to stop a child halfway and say, well, the instructions were not clear, so I could not do. So put all the instructions here, although Google Classroom says these are optional. Then you will think about what do you want them to do. So suppose you have created a file, an assignment in your Drive, and you want to attach it and for students to work on it. So do you want students to only view it, or do you want all of them to collaborate on it? Then the setting will be students can edit file. If they want, you want them to only view it, maybe a question paper has been assigned, then it can be put with the settings of students can view file. Individual tasks is what actually makes the interactivity more important and helpful. So you can then choose to make a copy for each student. You don't have to make multiple files. Only one file which is in your Drive. When you assign, you choose that it gets made as a copy. So if there are 40 students in your Google Classroom, then all of them will get individual copy of that file with their name on it. So it's just like a Xerox machine which makes 40 Xeroxes. Then when you go to the classroom, you hand out the worksheet to each 40 kid. And then each child will work on that worksheet in their own manner. So that is what make a copy for each student does. And this is just one click, one setting to be taken care of. Other than that, there are also possibility that you do not use something which is already created in your drive, but you create it from fresh. So that is possibly here plus create. So you can create that assignment right here. So that means the activity or the file that you want to create can be created from here as well. So if it is not a pre-created activity. On the other side is again some settings that we need to take a closer look at. So here is where you will be looking at the assign button, which will also have the choice that you can assign right then and there. So if you have created an assignment, you are ready to send it off, you can click on assign and it will reach the Google Classroom of each student. You can also, like teachers do, prepare the lesson beforehand. And to make your life easier, you can try to schedule that. So if I want to make sure that my class gets a particular assignment on Wednesday at 10 o'clock, then I can in the calendar actually pick this date and time and the assignment will be delivered to them. Or if I start the work, but I feel that I need to add something more to it, then I can save this as a draft and come back to it later whenever I have time. So that is definitely possible. You will again, of course, choose the topic so that your work remains organized. One quick look at the previous screen. Here is where we are looking at for which class you are assigning. And you can assign it to the multiple classrooms as well. So if you're teaching 7th A and 7th C and 7th E, then you can in one click select those classes and the same assignment can be assigned to 3 or more sections as well. In that case, you only thing that you cannot do is you can't schedule it. So you can either save it as a draft or you can assign it in that particular moment as it goes. The other possible feature in Create that we saw is of question. So you can create a question. Now, why? What is this question and why is it different from assignment? Question is just like a kind of a formative assessment, perhaps. You want to just do one quick check even in a live session. So you're teaching something and you want to just put in one question like we normally do. So when we are teaching, we pause and we ask students a question. Now here, this is how you can use this. You can put a question down there based on what you are teaching. And you can keep it ready as a draft or you can even schedule it. If you know exactly how your lesson is going to proceed, you can keep it timed and it will show up in the classroom of the student. This question can be a short answer or a multiple choice question. This also let you, kind of check the pulse of the class in the sense that you can assign this even after the session is over and you want to see whether the class has understood the lesson or not. So in order to get feedback for yourself, you can use the feature of question. You can also look at the question to be something where it's a short answer question, but you want children to reply to each other. So you want children to perhaps discuss the answers coming in. This is a most powerful way of doing it. So you don't have to create any file. You don't have to create an interactive applet. Just simply type in the question and choose what you want children to do. So this definitely is most important. The material part of the create assignment comes from, under the create button comes as the place where you share resources. So assignments basically are something which you want students to do and return and then you correct and then you submit it back to them. So when you're looking at that flow, material, that is the resources, don't need to go through that path. You don't want them to turn in, you don't want to correct it and grade it and send it back. So that is where if I want to share some resources, could be just the PDF of the chapter that is being taught or the video which helps children to understand that concept better. Or as a flip teaching, you want them to first view the video and next day class is based on that video discussion. So that can be given and sent out as a material. All of that comes here, so you can have that material picked up from the drive, or you can add a link, so that means you can have a web link added in, or you can have a file ready in your own system, whatever format it might be, maybe just a simple PDF, or there is a good video which you might have made or you have found on the web and you want to share with the students. That can be put as the material. And it can be again assigned to multiple classes. It can also be assigned to selective students. So suppose a particular student is struggling with a concept and you have tried to help him, but it is not working for him, but you found a good resource which the entire class need not see. So what do? You can come to this place and only select his name and then assign that particular material with the instruction that please go through this and then see if it helps. Ask me if you still have some more doubts. So differentiation can happen through Google Classroom in a very discreet manner. The other students will not get to know. Now that definitely is going to make the child more comfortable. So definitely this is something that you should try and explore when you start using Google Classroom. What happens when we assign Google Classroom an assignment? So when we assign an assignment to our Google Classroom and students have attempted that Google Classroom assignment, then there is a certain counter that keeps changing, and it gives you as a teacher an understanding of how the assignments are coming in. So out of 15 on a particular time in a particular class, 7 have turned in, 8 are still yet to do. So that difference shows up. And once I start grading it, the counter changes. And when they, in this particular activity, in fact, they were supposed to submit, it was an individual file that was assigned to them, and they submitted it back. So when 15 of them submit the work in, then all their files stay in one place at an easy to look at view for the teacher. And then the teacher can start assigning marks or opening each one of them and then grading them. And when I say opening each one of them and grading them, it is not one by one that I need to open them. Of course, I have to go through them one by one. But once I open a file, which could also be a PDF, that is the scanned copy of a analog work that the student has done and uploaded as a return assignment, then I can open the entire assessment nest and I can go from one student to the other using these arrows, and maybe because this is a PDF assignment, so I can highlight a certain section, put in my comment, follow a certain rubric, or just grade them and send it back to the kids. So this is a way that assessment can happen in the classroom, where you can use Google Docs, slides, drawings, or just even scanned PDF files. Of course, we desist and tell the kids not to send us the images, because each image, if it comes as a separate file, then it is not helpful to assess. It just adds to the load on teachers, and one is not able to do justice to the assessment then. So definitely one need to teach them to scan and make them as a collated one file, even if it is 4 or 5 pages work that they might be doing. So that is definitely something that can be done in the environment of Google Classroom. So we can assign, assess, and we can return all from one place in the Google Classroom. Once the child gets it back, they get to see the comments and feedback, and they can always get back to the teacher. So that is one way that we could do the assessment. The other way could be to use Google Form quizzes. So Google Forms are survey apps, but they also have a feature of turning them into quizzes. So that helps you as a teacher to give chance of formative assessment to the students, and also give them a chance to get that feedback. And if you choose to have all the MCQs only in the quiz, so if the questions are all multiple choice questions, you can save yourself some trouble of correcting those questions, because you can set in the marking scheme like a key, and the quiz will automatically assess give them the score as well as the feedback. So that is the power of Google Classroom combined with Google Forms. But Google Forms on its own a powerful app. You can even use this for taking attendance. So if you want to, and when I say attendance, it's not that when I'm doing the meet, I'm taking the attendance. This is the attendance that the student has come to the Google Classroom and has done some work. So the way I'm looking at it is, in my experience, in my way of uses, I'm giving them self-assessment forms in every day for each lesson. So for whatever we have taught in that 40 minutes, we give them 4 to 5 questions based on the teaching done on that day. And they are expected to, whether they've attended the live session or watched the recording at a later time, they are expected to answer these 4 to 5 questions on the same day. So that helps me to see whether they have come to the classroom, they have attempted the questions, and if they have not been able to answer a particular question correctly, because the Google Forms open up a very nice statistical view for teachers to look at. And that gives teacher a way to understand as to what question is troubling them most. And I can then start my next day lesson with discussion on that. It also helps students get the instant scores, so that motivates them. And in my experience of almost 2 months of this teaching that we've been doing, that has kept the students coming back to this again and again. Something which we never thought would happen. We thought they would get tired of these tests. But the day we don't put a self-assessment quiz, they immediately start saying, ma'am, where's the quiz of today? So that was a surprise, that they do look forward to checking whether they have understood the lesson or not, because I'm not there in front of them in the class to read their faces. So this helps me to read their minds and see whether they have understood it or not, and therefore it serves a dual purpose for us. So Google Forms definitely is a must for us to use. But you can also have different kind of assignments. So you can create certain assignments which are engaging children, which may not even be graded assignments. They are just assignment for children to keep on learning. So keep these assignments as much as possible individual, because some of the students may not have the same access to technology as the other. So if there is a group work which needs that the person A does, then only the person B can carry the work forward, then the work might get affected. But yes, do try collaborative work wherever you think it fits in your plan of lesson, and if it helps you to get the children work together. Google Classroom is also a great place for you to do a kind of a bring in that little bit of a social emotional check on how the things are progressing. So you can do a mood check-in, or you can use the feature of the question in the Google Classroom to ask just basic questions as, how are you feeling? Or what did you do in the last 5 days when we didn't have any classes? Something to that effect you can use, but you can also use it to check how are they keeping up with the online digital learning, where they are the ones who have to stay motivated. Did they keep up with the lessons that have been done? Could they keep up with the assignments? Do they have a need to have a one-to-one session? So all of these can go in as a classroom question. And then children are giving very honest answers, and sometimes, one even get an answer like, well, I'm just feeling lazy. I know I have to do a lot, but I'm feeling lazy, and so I will catch up. Don't worry about this, because there are few pending assignments coming from there. So they, and again, as a teacher, I think it is our creativity that needs to come into play, that you don't ask the same question every day. And this is also being done almost every day. So don't ask the same question. Change the variety, bring in the variety. Don't put text all the time. Maybe take some emojis and let them choose which emoji showcases their feeling for that particular day. Or give them stars to indicate how well they have understood the lesson. So that is something which helps you to engage the children and interact. And this doesn't need high-tech solution here. So I think it's time now that we actually get into the action and we take you to a live classroom and get you see how we can create the classroom. And as I suggested at the beginning, if you are on a bigger device, if you are game to play and join in doing certain activities today, then you can use your personal Gmail ID. Make a note of this code. So note down this code. I'm going to keep this screen on for a minute longer. Note down this code and go to classroom.google.com as you are signed in with your personal Gmail ID. Do not use your school ID because school IDs don't let you join a regular open Gmail ID created classroom. And my classroom school ID will not allow you to join in. So I have created this in my personal Gmail ID, and you can then click on the plus sign on the top right, join class, and put in this code. So take a minute. I'm going to keep this slide on and I'll just have a sip of water in the meanwhile and see if you can join the classroom. And I'll go into the live mode in a minute to start creating a classroom and talking about more possibilities there.
Ma'am, you want to just mention the website again, Google Classroom?
Yes, classroom.google.com. So you will have to go to classroom.google.com, or in your Gmail, when you open the inbox, look for these 9 dots, click on that and choose the classroom icon. So open the Google Classroom through the icon, that is this Google Classroom app, or type in classroom.google.com and use the plus sign to join class. You need a code to join the class. So this is the code for the demo classroom. The name of the classroom is also just Experience Google Classroom. So this is for you to just join in, but I would like you to pay attention to also what I'm going to show, because that will be, as a student, you will get the interface. But how do we create assignment in the live mode that I'm going to demonstrate? You will have to come back to the YouTube Live Meet, the tab, and then we will get going from there. So I'm going to now minimize my slides and we are going to create the classroom. We'll come back to showing this code again if you are interested in joining in. So after 10 minutes, we will again get into this classroom and we will talk about what the classroom looks like. Okay, so this is how the classroom.google.com looks like when you open up, if you have started using any class. But right now, I want to create a classroom. So I'm going to first demonstrate that. So to create the classroom, what I need is, I need to click on this plus sign. So this plus sign you will find when you come to classroom.google.com. If you have not typed in this, but you have opened your Gmail, then next to your name where you have signed in, you will find these 9 dots, which is also known as the Google App Launcher, and you can find the Google Classroom icon. So this is the icon which will bring you to exactly this screen. So once you are here, then we click on plus sign, and right now I'm going to just create a new classroom. So I'm going to click on create class. So as I showed earlier, create class takes you to a dialog box where you have to give a name to the classroom and few other details if you wish to. But the first field is compulsory. So here is where I will type in a certain class. So let's type in 8th A. And since I want it to be a maths classroom, I can put maths. If it is a science classroom, then you can put science or English, whichever subject you want. So that's my way of naming the classroom. You may change the order in which you are writing. As I suggested earlier, I prefer to write the academic session in place of the section. So I'm going to put in as 2020-21 to be my academic session. These are optional fields. You may not use them. Click on create. So the moment you put in the name of the classroom, then only this create button gets highlighted. So click on create and the classroom 8th A maths will get created. So that is not a very tedious way or task. You just went to classroom.google.com and then you have typed in the name of the classroom by clicking on plus and create class. So this is how the classroom gets created. Can you see 8th A maths and 2021? If I go back to the dashboard, this is the classes and all the cards. These are known as the cards of the various classrooms. And you can easily see that this classroom has no student in it. So 0 students. This one has 1 student because this is my trial the ID that I'm showcasing. But in my actual classrooms, I would have maybe many more classrooms, as well as every classroom having 20 or more students in a case. So you're looking at a glance some kind of a data coming in. So if you have 30 students in your classroom, you want to check whether all the students have joined in or not, then this number is indicative of that. So you don't actually have to go through the people list. If you wish to, you can just do a check from here. So let's try to see some more features of this Google Classroom here. So when you come to the classroom, as we showcased earlier, you have these 4 tabs. The first one is stream. So stream is nothing but a place which will be used to communicate with your class. That's exactly the prompt coming from Google Classroom by itself. You will create and schedule announcements. You will also respond to students' posts. Now here is where you can start sharing something with your class. But if you had seen earlier, it could be also possible for you to reuse the post. So I'm right now going to just share something with the class, and that could even be a simple welcome note. So I just say welcome and I can then click on post, or I can click on this little arrow to schedule this post. Or if I want to add more material to this, so suppose I want to add a video here, or I want to put an image here, or I want to put a website link here for them to go. So I can click on add and I can put all of that content here along with my welcome message or any other announcement that we are making. Once that's done, you can click on post and this post will show up in the student classroom as well when they join or if they were already in the classroom. Definitely, this is something helpful. Sometime you might have created a post for one of your classes and now you have got another class where you want to share the same information. In that scenario, this reuse post is most helpful. So click on reuse post and you will be able to see the various classes that are there in your account, and you can choose to pick the post of any other class that was created earlier. So I'm just going to try once more to see in case it's because of the speed, it is taking a little longer. So reuse post, as I do that, I get all the classes that have been in my account. Also note, even the classrooms that are archived are showing up. So archived means you are not using them anymore, and therefore you don't need to delete them. In fact, there is no button like a delete. But you can archive, so the work of those classrooms stays with you. You can constantly keep making use of it, but when you are you don't want students to interact in that classroom. So once you archive the classroom, it is archived for students as well. So let's see if we have something that I can use from any one of these classrooms that I can reuse. So there's again a simple welcome note that I have here, or I can go to a particular classroom and see if there is something else that I can make use of it. So this looks like, okay, there's some, maybe something a little more better. Maybe I want to use that information. So I can then use that information to create a new post in the classroom that I wish it to be posted to. So that is the idea, that when you are looking at reuse posts, the previous work done in the earlier classes can be used. You can add more to it. You can edit it. It's not that just reuse means it goes into the classroom automatically. You can edit it, you can change the words, you can add more files to it. And right now, let me just save it as a draft. So I can see that there is one saved announcement, which I can always open and edit, one announcement that has already gone in. So this is again just the stream for interaction, general interaction. Let's get into the class work, which is what most of you would be interested in, because this is where we are going to create the work. So the screenshots that you saw earlier, I'm going to just give you a walkthrough of that in a live mode from here. So when you're looking at classwork, then there is this big button of create. The color of this big button matches the theme of the classroom. So it's not going to be always this bright pink. So when I click on create, then these options open up. Assignment, quiz assignment, question, material, reuse post, topic. Here also reuse post. So if you had used or created an assignment for a particular other class and you want to reuse that, or you remember that, of course, you're at the beginning of this journey right now, but hopefully you'll use this in a blended mode next year as well. So all your work of this year will be available for you to reuse even in the next academic session. Right now, let's create a fresh assignment. So pay attention to small details that you saw earlier being again reiterated. So assignment, it opens this dialog box where the very first thing is to write the title. So I'm going to write a title. Preferably, you should number your assignments so that there is a certain order in which you are going along. Since we did that activity on butterfly the other day, I'm going to maybe use the same work that was created and add it here. So how do we do that? My assignment is number 1 and I'm talking about it as the life cycle of butterfly. And this is where I will put in the instructions. So if you are joining in the Google Classroom, which I just showcased, you would find that the instructions are a little more elaborate than, because I don't really want to spend time to do that here, but you will put in the instructions here to the detail. That's to, after this step, what are they going to do? Also consider that this will be their first time coming into your classroom, first few times. So students need to have a very clear understanding of what to do once they open the assignment. And I'll showcase that again once we get into the classroom, where I hope some of you have joined in. When we click on add, this is where the file which I want children to work on will get added. Now, this assignment is based on a premise that we are giving them some digital content to interact with. And therefore, that content has to be kept ready beforehand. If not, you can always click on create and then create then and there. But as teachers, I feel that we don't normally sit down at one point and do all of this. We work in phases as and when we get time. So I would advise you to keep your file which you want children to work on to be ready beforehand. When you start creating the assignment, click on Google Drive. The drive opens up. Most of the times it starts with recent documents. So you can maybe find under the recent documents the work that is supposed to be assigned. And then you can click on that particular assignment. So for me, I want to open the Google file on drawing where I want children to work. So I can select on that. The moment I select on a file, then their add button gets highlighted. So the moment I select this, I will click on add. Then by default, the setting of the classroom is students can view file. So you have to be very careful on this, not rush and add file and then assign. Take a look at the settings. So in this case, students can view file. We don't want that. We want students to work on it, and this is going to be an individual activity. And therefore, I will choose the setting. So to get the setting, there is this little baby arrow, if I may call it. Just click on this drop down and you will be able to change the settings. So we don't want students can edit file. We want student to edit, but not all students to edit the same file. So that's the difference in edit file and students can edit file in this particular scenario. Make a copy for each student. So when I make a copy for each student, then every student will get a file for their name and they will be able to then work on it. What do we have here? This is the class for which it is going to be assigned because I'm working in it. If I click this little arrow, I can choose to assign it to multiple classrooms. The classrooms which are active. So I can choose to assign it to multiple classrooms. Or if I keep it to one classroom, then I can choose to which student or students I want to assign it. So right now I don't have any student in the class, but if I have all 30 of them, then all 30 list will show up here. I can assign to all students, or I can unselect this and then choose the students to whom I want the slide to be, this particular assignment to be assigned to. Again, do you want it to be a graded activity or not? So that is your choice. If it is an individual activity, you may keep it as a graded one. But if it is a collaborative activity, it is preferred that keep it as an ungraded activity, because in a digital mode, it will be difficult for you to distinguish the work from one to the other. Also, sometimes when they work collaboratively, at least to begin with, there is going to be some chaos. So try to do that. But yes, as you go along and your students get empowered, give them group work, give them project work, and assign to the teams from here. So you will have to do a little bit of a multiple work, but you will have to assign it in a different lots, but you can do that as a group activity. Due date. So again, whenever we give work to the students, we tell them, I want this by so and so time, right? So if you do that in regular classroom, then why not in Google Classroom? There is always an expectation from the teacher. So you can put in the due date from here. So I can choose the due date. It always gives you the next day as the due date. You can choose it to be any other date. So I've taken it to be 3rd June. And then the most important thing, the topic. So by default, there are no topics in the classroom. You as a teacher will create these topics. So when you create this topic, you can choose how you want to go along. You can give it as a unit 1. You can also, as I'm doing in the current scenario, I'm using the topics to be the date. Because every day we are doing some work and we are assigning multiple activities. So it is all coming gathered under a date. So choice entirely up to you, how you want to assign them the particular work. So I'm going to give it perhaps unit wise. So here I'm saying unit 1. So all my tasks related to unit 1 will go under this. So here is your unit 1 topic created. The other 2 things that you're looking here will become more relevant if you're making a very subjective assignment, where maybe you are asking them to put together a report, or there are subjective questions where the students are answering and then you are assessing them on the basis of whether they have covered all the points or some points or few points. So you have a rubric set up for it. So in that scenario, you can use the rubric. So for this one, I'm going to skip that. And I'm again looking at a possibility of, do you want to assign it right now, or schedule it, or save it as a draft? So if I just assign it right now, it will show up in the classroom for the students as well at that time in the real time. So you will, if you're actually doing a live session with the students and you want to give them an assignment that, okay, now I've taught you for 15 minutes and we are not going to just keep it one way. I want you to work on something. So you have the assignment ready as a draft. You can post it and children in the live session also will be able to access the same assignment that is coming from you. All right, so as soon as you do that, in your Google Classroom, you can see that assignment coming in. So here is the assignment, which if there were students in the class, they would be able to open and attempt. We'll take a quick look at that in a moment. Let's create some more work here so that you get familiar with the features of this create button. So once I click on create, there was also a feature of quiz assignment. So although this feature is there in the Google Classroom, but quiz assignment typically starts with a blank form. So it is not a very helpful feature as far as teachers are concerned. Most of the teachers world across are giving that kind of a feedback. But if you are one of those who want to start a quiz assignment from here, then what will happen is the moment you click on create a quiz assignment, it opens up a blank quiz. And then you will have to create the questions in it. So that is one advantage or disadvantage of it. So again, of course, you will have to give options in terms of what the title of the assignment is. So if I make this to be title, say 202, and I'm giving it the name of quiz, and it is a blank quiz, so I can't send blank quiz, right? I'll have to click it open. So some of you who have never seen a Google form as a quiz, this is a kind of a short walkthrough to that. This is how the quiz opens up. So now the only advantage here is that it is already a quiz, not a Google form. What's the difference there? Hold on to that thought. So here is the quiz. So let me give it quiz, and we had called it number 002. So I'm going to put exactly that 002. And then I'm ready to start giving the same name to the file as well. So here is where we will go and put in 002. And the quiz file name and the quiz name is ready. Then we can add some questions. So here I can, as a good practice, must give the name as a question. Because the email IDs that you are going to create under your G Suite for Education domain, they might be admission number @ something. So when the students submit the forms, they will perhaps in the collection of the data, they will come with their email. So you may want to also get familiar with as to who submitted, what the name of that student is. So do give them a name. So this is our first question that is created. And if you notice, it automatically from MCQ turned into a short answer. So that's artificial intelligence working for you. Since it's a name, I'm not going to allocate any points to it. But we want it to be a compulsory question, so we click on required. And then we are to add more questions to it. So these are features of the Google form turned into a quiz. These are not the features of Classroom. So again, just in case you got distracted or you got overwhelmed by this information, this is Google form turned into a quiz, which is going to be used for formative assessment. So here is where you can maybe start putting some questions. And those questions could be, maybe a simple question as identify. So identify the following. It could be even a simple image that you have given, and then you are asking them to identify what that image represents. Now that is the beauty of Google Forms. You can add images here. So here is the icon for image. I click on image and you will be able to either upload or use the camera or the URL, photos, but the best is Google image search. So I'm going to put in image of a particular flower. So I'm putting the image of the lotus flower. And this will go into the question. So it is just the flower that they need to identify, taking a very simple choice to begin with. Again, the image got inserted. Maybe it looks too big. So click and resize. That's possible, right? You can make it small or big. And then give the options to the students. So here you can put in some names of the flowers which the students need to choose from. So I have rose, lotus, maybe sunflower. So these are the three options that are given to the student. So we are looking at how Google Form, which we started with Google Classroom, and we picked a blank quiz. How does it help us to do the assessment? So that means I have to have a marking scheme. I have to have a marking key, in fact, set up, and the marks to be allocated. So this is because it is already a quiz. I will click on answer key and choose which is the correct answer. So let's say in this case, the lotus. How many points do you want to allocate? So that will come up right here. So on the top, the moment you do answer key, you will get a way to edit these marks. So it becomes, let's call it 5 points. The moment I do this 5 points, look at this on the top, the total points have also become 5 points. And the first question that we have created is of 5 points ready. Now, since I have this open in front of me, and there are teachers here who are teaching languages. So if you are a Hindi teacher and you are thinking about, can I use it in Hindi? So all Google apps, because I did not demonstrate this for Google Docs on Saturday. So I'm taking this opportunity to tell you that you can type in Hindi as well, or Marathi or Sanskrit or any foreign language as a German or French. So I'm going to try and demonstrate for Hindi right now. So there is an extension that you will use that is known as the Google Input Tools. Once you add the extension in your Chrome bar, if I click open that extension, then I will be able to use that to do the typing. So you can see the languages I have added in here. So I've got Marathi, but I don't know the way to write Marathi, so I'm not going to take a chance with that. But I'm going to click on Hindi. And now see, we did have a question on rows of flower. I'm going to maybe type in another question here in Hindi where they will also pick the right answer. So maybe we can ask them a simple question on Aaj. So if I start typing Aaj, so I'm typing with my English keyboard only, but it's picking with the phonetics what is going to come there. So I'm going to just type in Aaj and it shows me number 1 Aaj. But what I'm doing in my keyboard is I'm pressing on the enter key. So the moment we look at that enter key, it gives me that Hindi text there. And you can do the same for Marathi as well, or for Sanskrit, or for French. So Aaj कौन सा दिन है? So if I just look at that and if I get that as an answer, it will turn up and I have a question. So I can then type in the various options. So again here, right now my input tool bar is active. It will still keep typing in Hindi. So I can start typing in terms of whether if I want it to be Monday, then I'm just writing in Hindi basically, Somwar. And then I'm going to put a Mangalwar. So this is the way that you will be able to get all the words, all the text coming in, going in the phonetics. And you can do this with any other language as well. So the moment I do that, I am able to get the, or maybe let's add in one more. Let's try if I can get this correct. And then just in case you missed how I chose the answer key. So this is now a multiple choice question. I can click on answer key. and I'm going to pick Monday as the right answer. This is where I can set the points. So I can have this set as 5 points. And again, well, it's giving me in Hindi because my input toolbar is still active. So why not? Let's then look at that. Well, it didn't actually accept in that command. So here I will have to choose the number 2 only, and I will be able to click on this to get the points. So this is needs to be looked at as to which field works and which not. Just to turn it off, because I couldn't get 5 there, I'm turning off the input tool. As I turn that off, I'll be able to type in 5. And I have the 5 points set in. Click on done. Also make these questions required, because you don't want children to attempt a test but skip questions. Another small thing that you need to pay attention to is there is something called as add answer feedback. Now, this is what actually is making this assessment so enriching for students and for you as well. It's saving you a lot of time as well. This is where you will put in a feedback for an incorrect and correct answer. So for an incorrect answer, I will put in a feedback and say, well, not necessarily try again, because that's the usually we think about when we are saying, because we don't want children to attempt the quiz all over again. But I want to give them the right answer. So maybe I can find a nice website which talks about the question, or for in this case, talking about the flowers, or I can find a YouTube video which describes what I'm looking for. Or what we are doing in some situations is we are looking at also finding or creating our own videos. So I'm looking at different flowers kind of a video, which is going to help me to understand, or maybe types of flowers would be a basic. Again, you have to find the right content. So if I type in types of flowers, maybe I'll be able to find a nice video on that. So what we are doing is, if needed, is to find a way to record our solutions and explanation for a particular question which I know is going to trouble most of the kids, and put that video here, because then it saves us the trouble of not doing that same question again the next day. And child, because when they do this formative assessment, they want to know why their answer is wrong. So if you can lead them to the right answer then and there, then your job of teaching, learning, assessing is all done in one place. So right now, I'm just going to put in the input watch and learn as my feedback. That's for the incorrect. For the correct answer, I can just say well done, or I can also share the same resource here also. Once I click on save, then they will be able to, when they get the feedback, when they submit the form, they'll be able to view their scores, and they will be able to also see the feedback coming in, which in this case is a video. It could be also image, and they are kind of getting that complete lesson done in one. So this is what we were creating in the Google Classroom. Let's not forget, let's go back to the Google Classroom. So I'm going to close this. And now we'll just refresh and finish this. So we had created the quiz for 10 marks. And it is going to be assigned to all the students. We can choose some due date if you wish to. And then, in fact, you can also choose the time, but that's optional. And I can put it in a certain unit. I can create a new unit, and I can call it as a self-check or a self-assessment kind of an activity. And I can then assign it to the students. So the quiz was created starting with the quiz assignment. And you can do this separately as well. You can first have the Google form turned into a quiz ready into your drive, and then from there start assigning it. Before we go ahead, let's take a look at if you could join my Google Classroom, because then we'll be able to give you a demo as to how student attempts these assignments. So I'm going to open the Google Classroom, and just in case some of you are still interested in joining it, I'll show you the code and you will be able to join in along with.
I think there's some. I don't know whether anyone has joined because some reply I got is saying that the code was they were not able to enter using that code.
They will have to use their personal Gmail.
So if you're using G Suite, it might not happen.
It will not. That is why. So I can see many of them have joined in.
Oh, super!
So this is the people's list. So I have a long list of people who are joined in.
Wow.
Great. I'm happy because I thought this will give you
How many how many in total?
253 students have joined in.
You got a large classroom.
Yeah, I have a large classroom there. Yes, but I hope this will give them a feel of what Google Classroom looks like. And I had kept some assignments ready for the participants who are joining in. So I'm going to now open that classroom. And in case you were not able to join in, I did remind that this will not, you will not be able to access this code if you are using your school, that is G Suite for Education ID.
Amazing. I mean, I'm so happy that you brought activities inside the YouTube live where they're not able to comment. But
Yes.
amazing. I mean, ma'am, nothing is impossible, right, in technology?
Absolutely. See, we are talking about remote learning.
Yeah.
And when we talk of remote learning, you don't have to have, I mean, I've been doing these workshops face to face over the years. And for me, this element is very important, that teachers get their hands dirty. You know, till you play in it, you won't know what you are talking about. So that is where I thought, well, who's keeping us away from doing that? Even if, you know, we are not able to have them internet and able to see them right now.
Because I
So
used to feel guilty because, because I disabled the comment after the first session. I used to
don't
always,
worry, the chat is now open.
thank you.
So now we can see how many people have commented in the Google Classroom. So I have yet to show you that. I haven't seen it as well. So let's see if people have answered my question. So 112 class comments have come in without disturbing anyone. And I have kept the settings to be such that they are not going to post something. So again, you know, classroom management is very important, and it is in your and my hands as a teachers. So you will only be able to comment on my, so this was the, just for those who possibly have not been able to, just not to leave you out of the chance of looking at it. So this is the assignment, the classroom that was created, and teachers have joined in, educators or anybody who's watching has joined in, and it is open for everyone. It's not only for teachers, it's also students who are here, perhaps are interested, or parents. Very important for parents to understand what is going to happen in Google Classroom. What exactly is my child going to be safe or not there? So definitely go ahead. If you are just a parent and you are not the one who's going to teach or use it, then please go ahead, join in and see. So this was a small comment from me, and I have introduced myself, and I have given them instructions that all the tasks that are going to come in will come under the classwork tab. Although by default, the notifications come in the Google Classroom stream as well. I have changed those settings. I'll just talk about them. And they were asked to share their name and also the name of institution from where you are joining in. So not many of them have actually shared their institution, but they've all been happy to talk about. So nice, Jacinta, you're from Carmel School here, so welcome. And I can then, perhaps I can, as a teacher, what I can do is I can go to each one of them and answer to them. So if I'm looking at Diana putting a message for me, then I can just reply to this comment, and I can say, in a return, what I would like to share. So I can just put that, my pleasure, to her, and she will get a notification in her mail. So every person, as a student, when you think about it, how wonderful it would be if I have 30 students in the class, and out of that, even if 5 of them post something, I can instantly reply to them. So as my students of grade 12, shared in the last session that, you were very prompt on Google Classroom messages, and we don't even have a WhatsApp group. So we are not even connected on WhatsApp group. So they said your response was coming faster than a WhatsApp message. So that is the advantage of having an app on the phone as well of Google Classroom. So it's wonderful to have all of you joining in. Now, this is what Stream does. Stream is for interaction. What I did just before we go into the classwork, this is for all educators here, to have the classroom managed. I didn't want you to create your own post. Then the flow of discussion breaks. So what I had done is, let's take a look at the settings of the classroom. So under the settings of the classroom, there is of course class details. Then under the general, you will find the class code. And this is which you can always reset. So if after a while, I think that many people have joined and let me stop this, then I can disable, I can reset. That is a possibility. I'm not going to do this for the next few days at least. So don't worry, you can come back even after, if you're watching a recording, at a later date. Then under the stream, I have students can only comment. Students can post and comment is by default the setting. And then there is also a setting of only teachers can post or comment. So this is something which I would not advise anyone, because we want to interact with students. It's a pleasure to see these good mornings and hellos coming in, and I hope this will, when you do it with the students, it will be more than hello and good morning, because students might want to share something, or you put a thought-provoking question there and you want to hear their thoughts on that. So students will start responding to you there. So I had chosen students can only comment so that they do not create their own post. That is only for the stream, right? Also, I have chosen the setting under classwork on the stream. This is also for you to have an understanding of what the view looks like. Because when too many notification comes in, like your WhatsApp, if you open at a certain time and there are 30 notifications, you say, oh God, what am I going to do now? So when you open Classroom, you don't want to show the notifications of homework or assignments that have come in. So I have chosen hide notifications. But there are options that you can show attachment and details, show condensed notifications, and then the third, hide notifications. So this keeps my stream part very clean, and I'm able to follow from there. One thing which I had not kept open, which I'm going to open now, something called as show deleted items. So this again for a teacher is important. So remember, like in our WhatsApp, I can post and then after 10 seconds, I can delete for everyone. Now think in the scenario of online conversations. When you are working with students, there is a possibility that student might post a comment which is not suitable or might hurt another student, and they immediately delete it. But in that 10 seconds, if somebody, the kid had seen, then that would not be visible later. Then how do we follow up on such? So controlling the class in terms of mini-arm aspect, also considering the safety and trying to prevent that bullying that might happen otherwise in our schools, might even go towards a platform like this. So when you click on show deleted items, then teacher only will be able to see that. Otherwise, anything that a student posts will be visible, and who has posted will also be visible. So you can immediately go to the classroom and you can identify. Now, again, just to showcase, in case there is a certain person, so if I have a reply to Lucy or not, but suppose there is a certain person who is constantly posting and is creating disturbance in the class, or if your notifications on phone are on and it is pinging again and again. So take a look at this. You as a teacher can delete that comment or you can mute a particular student. Mute is like, when we do it in class, although I don't think any one of us does it now, but maybe in the junior class, sometimes you have to tell them, put finger on your lips. You're not going to speak, you're disturbing the flow of the class. So this mute is, the student is very much in the classroom. He's going to see all the notification, he can do the assignments, he's expected to do everything, but he will not be able to comment. He will not be able to participate in the discussion. So this is the ultimate punishment for any student for that matter. But in case you are interested to know how to manage Google Classroom, then these options are there, because this is built for student-teacher interaction. And when you are looking at an app like this, then it has to provide for all the possibilities, and they always follow the suggestions coming from teachers and work on it. So there is a little question mark here, which we use as educators to send feedback to Google, and they take these feedbacks very seriously. So that is what is happening in the Google Classroom. Now I have 202 comments, so definitely more teachers have joined in. Okay, so let's take a look at what's happening in classwork. So you saw how to create an assignment, and once a student has joined in, the assignments which were already assigned, because I wanted people to get busy once they come into the classroom, then they can start attempting these assignments. So I had a certain warm-up activity. Then, of course, since we are talking about one applet that you saw earlier, so I'm keeping in continuation. So there's a life cycle of butterfly. And I had also given a certain game. So Kahoot is a very popular quiz game, which you can assign for student-based learning as well. So we normally used to do this in a live mode. We still do it in Google Meet, but this also, and I can see 4 have already turned in. So let's go step by step. So this was a question created in the classroom. So here the question was, how familiar are you with Google Classroom? So when the student come in and open the classroom, they will see this question. And if you click on view question, they will be able to answer. Right now, this is the teacher's view that I am showing you. You'll be able to see the student view when you join the classroom, or when I open the classroom from student's perspective. So as I can see that out of 17 that have turned in, 2 of them say that they are power user of Google Classroom. Oh, 20 now have said that, 20 have turned in. 2 of them say they are power user. So if there are almost 251 teachers and participants in my classroom right now, so go ahead, do not just join classroom. You are not being assessed here. This is for you to experience the features of classroom. So even if you have never used it, just click on that choice so that you can see how it works and how the student is going to be able to share. Right now, as I show it to you, you cannot see who has answered what question. So as of now, it's all anonymous, right? But if you don't mind, I'm going to open one of them, and here I'll be able to see 3 people, and who are those 3 people who have answered this question and what choice they have taken. So I have Cynthia, Suprabha, and Paul's. They have chosen the option of I'm a power user. So similarly, as I open other choices, I would be able to see if I have asked a question in the Google Classroom as to, have you understood the topic? Or where are you with the particular concept? Or how are you feeling today? If a child is not feeling good, they will choose. Believe me, they did choose that kind of an option, that I'm now bored of the lockdown and I need a change. So they opted that, and then next day when we started the class, we just tried to motivate them and give them a little bit of a cheering them up, and having a little fun movement, so that they come out of that kind of a thought and process, which is very, very important in this scenario as well, but in a blended mode. So this is something which you can do even later when you start your regular school as well. Don't keep this only for remote learning. This is a very powerful app that is coming to you, and you are getting empowered. So you will find a lot of uses for that. So as you can see, as we were talking, this number has constantly changed and I could see immediately at a glance. So think about, as a teacher, how powerful it is to just have something getting done right in front of you without you moving, a single finger there. So that was our first task. So go ahead, complete it. I'm going to go back to the classroom and see few other things that are coming in, and then open from a student perspective as well. So this is the second assignment that was given to them. So what happens when a student attempted? So the first one was, and this sequencing was done with the purpose that if I'm teaching this concept, then I want children to watch a video or visit a website and then do something. So watch and learn comes, and using these little emojis and icons is always helpful, especially to make the current generation, they talk in these emojis icons only, so they will understand it better than us. They don't want to read these words. They understand this icon stands for a video. So once I do that, I can see a video was attached, and I can also see there are some class comments. So it is possible that the child had gone through this and he or she wants me to respond to it. So I can see how nicely somebody has also responded that it was an amazing video, and I love the emojis being used to respond to my answers. So this is what the children will do to you. They are quick with responding with emojis than with anything else. So they have watched the video. Now I'm not too sure actually whether they watched the video or not, but they have responded to that, and they've again, you will need to empower yourself a little more. In our earlier session, I had talked about ed puzzle. So ed puzzle is something which helps you to track whether the video has been watched or not. But here it was just information shared. So if they have watched, good. And then we go to the next assignment, which was they were supposed to watch, and then after that they had to complete. So I'm going to just open this assignment here in a different separate window, and you can see that 11 have turned in, 240 are assigned. And what happens when they turn in? That is what, as a teacher, you want to get a view of. So I'm going to just open that assignment. This is how the assignment looks when students have turned it in. So at a glance, I'll be able to see the files. I'll be able to open each one of these files and then assess it as well. So I can click open one file, and as I open one file, I'll be able to then grade them as we go along. So I'm looking at, of course, because the first time you do it in any classroom, there is a very nice tour that you get to see as to how it is going to work. So it says pop out the student's assignment to view it in full doc if you want it. And then you can see that there is a little arrow here that says if you want to open it in a new window, you can use that. You can add comments, and you can use a comment bank also for the access. You can grade this assignment. And you can also, once you have graded, return it. You can return to one student, or you can return to multiple students. So that is a kind of a self tour coming in of what is expected of you. So look at this work that has been turned in by one of the participants, and then as a teacher, I'm ready to start grading it. So I can see that the person has used arrows to connect the and build the life cycle, but maybe not in the right order, or in the right order. So I can always choose the particular object and give some comments. In this case, the arrows have been very nicely used to show the life cycle. So from here, the arrow goes to this, and then this, and then this, and coming back again to the lava. So we are looking at those things happening here. Very well done. And I can just put my comments here. I can, maybe pick an object if I want to correct the student, or I can put in a comment as a private comment here and return. So I'm just going to do that, and our first participant will be able to see that coming in. So I'm just going to say well done, and I'm going to post this. The moment I say well done, private comment reaches before the score, in fact. But the return will happen from here. In order to do multiple returns, I'm going to grade few more. So this is the first assignment done. And you can, if you click on this drop arrow here, you will be able to see all the students. I can select them by status. So I can select as to who all have done the assignment. Turned in is the language. I'll click open the next assignment and I can then go on from one to the other. So I can see if Lucy could finish the life cycle or not, and then I will put in the grades there and I will return it. Or if I find that the arrows are missing or it was just an experiment, right? So not an issue at all. I'm going to grade everyone 5 on 5 just because they even participated, they've turned it in. And then I can put in a comment and say, try using arrows or connectors. So again, if you are to join the images. So if I do that, the child will know how to improve on their work. I can return without grades as well, and the student can then resubmit the assignment. So that is the beauty of Google Classroom, because it really lets you do what you practically can do in any other situation. So I can just pick one item from here and I can also insert a note. So there is an add comment. So moment I highlight it in the toolbar, I'll look for this plus sign. I'll add a comment from here and then I can say connect the images. And that student will get this as a comment as well and will be able to see where the correction needs to be made. So that is how the flow of the work would go. And then we can come back here, and now since I've corrected 2, I'm going to return multiple submissions. Google Classroom does all the hard work for you. The marks have been added in. The one which we have already graded are selected. The ones which we have not graded are still showing with a turned in green. And then if I look at the ones which are going to come later, they'll get added. I can return to 2 of them and they will get a notification in their Google Classroom as well as in their inbox, so that they will be able to see what the grade is. If there is a feedback coming from the teacher, they'll be able to access that as well. So that is how the entire flow of assignments work. Going back to the classroom, let's see what else is happening here. So now I can see in this case, the counter in teacher's view is now changing. So I had earlier turned in and assigned. The moment I have graded and returned 2 assignments, this counter has now changed to 31 turned in. I can click on that and I can see only the names of those students who have turned in. The assigned and then 2 graded, then I can click on that and I can see the 2 that I have graded and returned. So this is a very nicely organized way of, at a glance, such a huge classroom I have never had ever. And if you even have 30 kids, to see each one's work and who has submitted or not, it's at times quite a tedious task, even in a physical classroom. You have to always check, oh, do I have 15 copies or 20 copies? And then who's not submitted? You have to mark it against your list in your registers. So this one is doing that job for you. So I think every teacher would be feeling, wow, this is amazing, right? I mean, as a teacher, this is a complete organization taken away from me. I don't have to worry about it. So that is the action that is happening in the Google Classroom. Again, as I briefed in the beginning, when we give assignments, then we need to have interactive assignments. We need to give them a variety of the assignments. So some of the assignments that I thought was also with the help of giving you a chance to play some game. So that's Kahoot that was given. I'm also going to now look at a collaborative assignment, and we can see, if we are all game to work on this. So this again is to showcase that you can keep the assignment ready as a draft. Not everything had to be done on the spot. So you can do this in advance, keep it ready as a draft. So I have an assignment ready, which I'm just calling as getting to know you. So this is a collaborative task. So when I said write the instructions, write details in the instructions, then this is the detail that I'm writing in this case. That this is a collaborative task, respect work of others, do not delete or overwrite. Click open the file on the right side as you view the assignment, pick a slide on which no one is working. So if you were in my class, then I would have written your names on each slide. If you were in my class, I might have known your roll numbers and I would have given roll numbers to you. And then they have to complete the task and come back to Google Classroom and click on mark as done. So I'm going to assign this. To do that, I have to click on edit assignment. So it opens into this dialog box, which is what we are referring every time we create an assignment. So here are the settings. By default, it is students can view file. I have to change this setting to students can edit file. So the butterfly example was make a copy for each student. Whereas this one is now open to edit by everyone. So I've kept it as an ungraded activity and I'm calling it collaboration. So I'm going to assign this. So those who are in my classroom will see their classwork getting updated and they will be able to join into that. As they do that, I'll also look at few more assignments which we have talked about in terms of assessment. So under assessment, I have kept ready 3 assignments in language of quiz, right? So I'm going to assign 3 quizzes to you, 3 because I just thought if some of you would like to attempt an English quiz or you want to attempt in Hindi or you want to attempt in Marathi. So the other day we did get a very good response and I'm going to try now with this class in the Google Classroom scenario. That was out of the Google Classroom scenario. We could still see the responses coming in. And do excuse me in case my instructions in Marathi are not exactly correct because I used Google Translate, not the input tool. But what I meant here is that open the attached file and attempt the exam or test that has been assigned to you. So you will click open that and you will be able to attempt this. So as you saw, these quizzes can be very easily created in languages. I'm a maths teacher. So if there are hopefully a large group of maths teachers in this audience, then for maths, you always have to go an extra length to just like for Hindi and languages, we had used Google input tools. For maths, we will be using a Chrome extension known as Equatio. So Equatio is EQ. I'm going to put it in the slides somewhere here so that you can see. So in the meanwhile, the teachers who are already in the Google Classroom will attempt the quiz and the collaborative assignment and we will take a quick look at that. This is for maths teachers. If you are a math teacher and you want to type in math, in whether it is in the slides or it is in the form, Google form, then this is the website that would help you to access this by as a G Suite for Education domain. You will get a free premium account, but you can add in the extension through the Chrome through the Chrome Web Store. So I'm just going to make it a little bigger so that you can all see that. So this is the Chrome extension which helps you to type in maths. So once this extension is activated, so suppose I have to type in maths on Google Slides or on Forms, then this is the Equatio icon on my Chrome bar. I'm going to open that, and once Equatio is activated, it will show you a little toolbar at the bottom of the screen, as you can see perhaps here. Now this is not only for science, it's also for the maths, not only for maths, it's also for the science teachers. So how does one use equatio? A short tour till a few people do the collaborative work, which I really want to showcase. I'm going to just click on equation editor and I can start typing the equation here. So suppose I want to type in square root, and I'm just going to say SQ from my keyboard and it picks up square root. So I'm going to look at this square root and I'll have a square root of x plus 5, and I want it to be equal to, so I just use my arrow keys from the keyboard, equal to 7. So I can have a question typed in something like this. I can also use text to type in solve. So I can have a complete question created. It is an insert math. So click on insert math and this will get inserted as an image, and that you can then align in your slides. You can put it in your of course in Google form also, it will show up and it will get inserted very nicely in your slides. I think I have too many tabs open up, it's slowing my system, but it will get inserted here, believe me. Let's go to the Google Classroom, and of course once you have this, then it's all again about playing with it. So do go ahead, play with it and see how each one of these features, and for the science teachers, STEM tools, how do they help you? Go ahead, explore. This is just a starting point for you. Looking at the time that we have and what we had thought of, again, look at it. Before we open the collaboration activity, quiz time, I can see 3 class comments coming in. So access denied, that's strange. Okay, we have Hindi coming in. I have 4 turned in. Okay, so I'll check the form. It was not meant to have an access denied thing, but I'll still check. But we have 4 turned in coming in here. And if I open this, I will be able to then look at the responses coming in. I don't know what their score is. Since this is set up in my personal Gmail ID, I don't have an option of import grades, because of course not everything is possible in a general Gmail ID. G Suite has more capabilities. It has capabilities of controlling who can submit your forms as well. So that of course is an additional feature. So right now, if I need to see the score, I will open the Google form and I'll be able to see the scores coming in from there. So that is definitely a possibility for you to do. Looking at the collaborative, so I'm will check if there is something that I need to look at as a denied access, but well, I can see turn in coming in as well. So it could be that you were trying to use some different ID, that could be the problem. But if one of my student can do it, then I know that my settings are perfectly fine and things are not going to go wrong. So that is possible. Just check again. Maybe there is something wrong in the way that we are looking at it. Yeah, it is due tomorrow. So you have time till tomorrow. But if you submit after due time, then I will get an indication of late submission. So due time is typically said as that when any student submitted later than the due time, then teacher gets a notification that it is a late submission. And if the student doesn't submit it, then teacher will get the notification of missing. So you are looking at, again, from the teacher's point of view, that is helpful for you. Okay, so here is a collaborative task. Some of them have followed my instructions clearly. So let's see what this task looks like. So this was a collaborative task where everybody is going to work on the same deck of slides, which with almost 250 people is a little dangerous. There are not enough slides there, so you might have to add more slides for your own work. But what you are looking at is a possibility that there is no single file that is being created here. It's the same file that is showing in every one's login. So if I open the file in which people were working, we will be able to get a view of the work that has been done by them. So I had kept the first slide with just saying hello, and that was my slide, but somebody has used this, it's okay. And then we are looking at, starting with taking a look at the work that has come in. So I see some of you very nicely answering the questions here. So what you like about, so my questions were basically, tell me something about yourself. So I can see Cynthia responding there that she is a teacher educator, where she teaches, what she likes about the teaching, and how she's feeling as well. And you can also see multiple people working right now on, in fact, the same slide. Somebody is working in live right now. So think about it in a remote situation. If you want to teach your students, if you want to guide them, then you can definitely use this opportunity to tell them how to proceed, how to go ahead. If they don't know how to do a particular task, then in the live mode, you can actually select one and then put in a comment, and you will be able to help them to move on. So that is the power of live dog being used by teacher and the student, either in a synchronous or an asynchronous manner. So if you are doing it asynchronous, but you tell the children, I'm going to see the slides at 8 o'clock at night. If you want me to give you live feedback, come online and we'll work together. So as they are working right now, as I see Runal typing in, I can put my comments there, and the class will feel better. The student will get a feedback, and actually the real feedback will come then and there. So I see that it is almost 1:30. So I think we are ready to wrap up. The classroom is open, and just in case you want to have a second look at the code, then this is the code coming up. Once again, go ahead if you wish to join in. But once you have joined, the classroom will remain active for some time. Those who were just trying to lurk around and try to see what was happening, if you want to try this out, go ahead, do try it, and let me know how you're feeling. If you have any trouble as well, do post it there. I will be able to comment through the classwork. So we can, although our chat is off, we will be able to interact, and we will be able to carry on with this learning. So I hope this has given you at least the beginning. There are, of course, bigger and deeper details when you come to Google Forms, but that will need another workshop by itself. So I cannot promise that I have shown you everything that is possible, but hopefully enough for you to get started with. So wishing you all the very best, to all the teachers around who are joining in and who are ready to take their first steps forward.